10 games on Monday. I am angry. I'm annoyed. And we're going to recap all of those games. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Yeah, hurry up.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I'm in my mum's car. Brum brum. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are double banging on all platforms. Go ahead and listen to the audio, or watch the video, thumb it up, leave your comments, ring the bell, and get ready. Because you know why I'm angry? I've already recorded this show, but because my stupid boom mic arm fell off during recording of the live pregame show today, had to get one shipped out, get it out, sent out immediately so I get this show done. And I went ahead, assembled it, got it all set up, and I forgot to plug the microphone in. So I'm out here talking for an hour with no bloody plug-in. So, you can see a lot of this going on, but no show. So here we are, redoing it. I don't know how long I'm going to go for. I don't know how angry I'm going to be. I don't know how spicy I'm going to be. But I'm annoyed. So many things have gone wrong today, and I know you don't care. But I'm just telling you, if I get a little bit snappy, that's why. Because that happened, and it was annoying. Let's talk about the games. That's what we're here to do, I guess. Let's talk some news. Spencer Dinwiddie's going to be available to play for the Lakers tomorrow. I don't think he's going to play enough. He's not good enough anyway. I don't think he's going to play enough to be able to get huge minutes to be a 12-team league guy. You can try it if you want. It's a low-volume day, so have a crack, see what happens. But he's not going to be getting 30 a night. He's not going to be touching it over Russell, Reeves, James, or Davis. So I think you can leave him alone in most spots. Miami, update on Terry Rozier and Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson has a shoulder dislocation. They said he'll be out a couple of weeks. That's great. We love to hear that from a, at least, perspective of giving us some information, not from Joshy's injury. And then we got Terry Rozier with a nebulous diagnosis. Shams, give us some details, my guy. Oh, it's not a serious injury, isn't it? It's not your knee. Yes, that just means no ACL. But now he's also said it's a sprain. He's week to week. What does that mean? Grade 1 MCL, 4 to 6 weeks? I don't know, because they haven't told us what it is, so I'm only guessing. Obviously, Rozier and Richardson aren't playing before the All-Star break. You got to think 3 to 4 at least minimum here, meaning we got Duncan Robertson. If he's able to reattach his arm after Jaylen Brown pulled it off, he'll be the guy to be look at, and then it's Caleb Martin and Jaime Jaquez. But I don't know. The Heat have got no guards. Deeper leagues, Alondes Williams is going to have to play. They've got no guards. So someone else is going to have to do that, because Jimmy Butler's also out until after the All-Star break. Just a real rough spot for them at the moment with those injuries piling up. Let's take a look at the waiver wire, the trends there, who's been the most added and the most dropped players. The most added is Simone Fontecchio. He is up 17% over the last 24 hours. I get it. He played well. I think that might almost be high watermark, and I think it's going to come down, but it's okay. Next highest added player was Vasilij Micić, and then Tre Mann. When in doubt, go the starter. That's Tre Mann. Both up 16%. Micić did nothing today. Mann was pretty good. Mann's a 12. Micić is not. Kelly Olynyk up 13%. A must-roster player. Leaky Beasley. He's not a must-roster player, but the Bucks have the game Monday that we're going to talk about. Then they got the Tuesday-Thursday combo. Good schedule. And then Greg Jackson. Everyone added GG, and he didn't play. This is why he slipped to 45 in the draft, is a lot of off-court maturity issues. And apparently he's got some fines already from the Grizzlies this season. Now he's got his new contract, and he got suspended for a game for breaking team rules. His lack of overall goodness in his fantasy game makes him a hard hold in 12-team leagues. He's still not starting. He's not getting good minutes. He's okay, but it's more about, hey, maybe it's upside. Maybe it all comes together. But I think in the end, he's probably going to hurt you more than he helps you in category leagues. More so for points leagues, he can be rostered in that scenario. Most dropped. Most of these are just very easy, obvious ones to drop after Sunday. Trey Lyles, yes. Josh Richardson, injured, yes. Kevin Huerter, drop. Yep, obviously it's Kevin Huerter. Lou Dort, drop. Yes, down 10%. The Pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Soothes my anger. Down 9%. We're not holding on to him. And Marcus Sasser, down 8% in Detroit after his 40-minute game turned into a 14-minute game. What's the reality? But the path is not super clear for him, given that Cade and Ivy are the two guys in front of him, although there is a back-to-back for the Pistons. So maybe Cade sits on Wednesday, maybe Sasser jumps up, but there's 13 games on, so we probably just don't care enough to consider him a 12-team league. I was going to say loser, but that's just being a little bit unfair, isn't it? All right, let's get into these games that I've already gotten into many, many times already today. The first game, the Charlotte Hornets win over the Indiana Pacers. 102-111, the final score. On the Pacers side, Miles Turner, 22 and 5, 2 steals and 2 blocks. There were people asking me, hey, do we go and drop Miles Turner? No, you don't. No, that's why exercising patience is so important. Like, these are great games. He's a top 65 player this season. You don't drop him. Andy Nembhard, pretty good game. 10 and 2, 7 assists and 3 steals. I'm not convinced he's a 12-team league guy, but that is encouraging for sure. And Halliburton had 34 minutes, 13, 6, and 12. Now, someone asked me the question, hey, man, why does Halliburton suck so much? There you go. Buy low. It's on. As soon as people start saying that, you buy low. You can get an absolutely huge bargain here. This is actually a positive for Halliburton. He played 34 minutes. He had 12 assists. Yeah, he shot 33%, so he only had 13 points. And he didn't have a defensive stat. But who cares? The rest of this stuff is fine. I'm totally okay with it. And if someone still believes that he sucks, or he's struggling, or he's not going to get back to what he was, well, it's a huge buy low chance for you. Too many people are rostering Timothy John McConnell. He had 8 points in 15 minutes. Too many people are rostering Obi Toppin, who's 25% rostered in 12-team leagues. What are you doing?
Get that garbage out of here!
I'm going to just assume that the people who have Obi Toppin on their roster are the ones who are sitting at the bottom of the standings and aren't changing their rosters, because there is no excuse for this. 6 and 4 for him with 2 threes. What about Ben Mathurin, though? Oh, one of the biggest jacks ever.
Get that garbage out of here!
0 points, 15 minutes, 0 of 4 shooting. This guy is bad at the moment. 320th over the last 5 games. Outside the top 200 for the season. 168th in points leagues. So you don't even have that excuse. Well, he's actually good in points leagues. No, he's not. He's actually bad everywhere. And at the moment, he's bad on the court. Now, I do believe he will improve from this, but not enough that I care in 12-team leagues. I liked grabbing him at the end of drafts. I guess a guy that might score and might start, take some steps forward in efficiency, get the really good free throw volume. Nah, none of that stuff. Way worse than last season. Get him out of here. Spicy Josh. Let's talk Charlotte. Miles Bridges, 20 and 10, 7 assists, 3 steals. 53%. Good. Sell high. Get a top 30 player back if you can. What's going on with Brandon Miller? They just decided they were going to turf all of their bench players into the shadow realm, bring new guys in, and Brandon Miller said, I'm good then, guys. I'm not going to take any more shots. You guys just see what happens. Interestingly, they're winning with him doing that, but he took like 8 shots. He took 9 last game. 12, 4, and 1 in 29 minutes. And it's another very interesting illustration of when people get crazy about stuff. I can't believe Josh is telling us to sell high on Brandon Miller. The guy just hates him. Yeah, this is why. Because he was doing so much stuff that just had no semblance to what he'd done for the first 45 games or what he'd done in college. Now, this usage here is too low. It's going to bump back up. But we love getting excited. We love chasing. We love the idea of our guy who's figured it out. And it's happened. There's a number of those ones we're going to talk about today. It's all happening. This is going to be the same thing they do every single game from here on out. And it's not. So, yeah, that's disappointing. Miller will be better than this. But the other stuff was like high-level stuff. Not real. Grant Williams' body switched into PJ Washington. Whether that's a good thing or not depends, but it's better than what he was in Dallas. 21, 4, and 3 in 31 minutes for Grant on 50% shooting. And honestly, that's a 12-team guy. I know, but it is. It's a 12-team guy. Nick Richards had 13 and 9 in his 26 minutes on 100%, a 12-team guy. And Tre Mann played 34 minutes, 11, 9, and 7 on 46%. Also, a 12-team league player. We talked about Tre Mann for months. We talked about him on the deadline, saying, this is really interesting. There's an opportunity here. Let's wait. Let's see where we go. Maybe you take a fly. We'll see where it goes. Started straight away. We grab. We add. We roll now. It's going to be up and down, but we roll. And I don't know if LaMelo's coming back ever. Honestly, I've got no idea. But I think him and Trey can play together. Cody Martin was solid, 11-5-2 with a 1-1. That's more for 14 teams, I think. Seth Curry got hot. He had 18 points in 9-10 minutes. I'm not buying into it. And the other one was Vasily Micic, who was great last game, and then had 2 points in 21 minutes. Obviously, what he did last game, the 18 points on 9 shots, I think it was insane. It was never going to hold. But we saw the minutes push down. The assist not the same. He just isn't that guy who is a 12-team absolute must. Not at all. You could have taken a flyer, but you want to always default to that bloke who is the starter, which is, in this case, Tre Mann. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. It's also the easiest and the most exciting way to play DFS. It is just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings rolling in. Well, you know what it is now? It is demon time on Prize Picks. Now, usually in demon time or on demon time, there's some goblin going on. But this is a different sort because we've got the red demons and the green goblins, and they get you different payouts. You can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, turning $10 into 1,000. Get the red demons cracking, get the green goblins out there, and you find your way into demon time that doesn't end up with a high level of embarrassment. Go over to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks, it's time for Goblin. Probably shouldn't have put that. Oh well. It's been a tough day. All right, what are we going to get into now? We're going to get into the next game. That's a great game to get into. It is the second game of the day, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. There was a change to the starting lineup for the Cavs, for the Sixers, because Toby Harris was out. He was impinging his hip. He's done. Not done. He was just out today. KJ Martin steps in, and the Sixers remain incredibly beat up, but they win. 123-121, the final score here. Let's talk about the Sixers. Let's go to basketball Paul Reed. 29 minutes, 13-8, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 60% shooting. Now, I want you to just sit here for a second. Now, if you get the urge, or you or someone you love gets the urge to say out loud, to tweet at me, to tweet in general, to post in an internet forum, to write, to think, anything, the following or derivatives of the following statement. Why does Josh, in all the fantasy analysts, why do they love Paul Reed? I don't see it. There's nothing special here. Why? Why are they always on about him? This is why. Is that awesome? Yeah, it's pretty good. Is it earth-shattering? No. But it's like you get into a spot where you've got an unbelievably good fantasy game. The minutes come. The production comes. Step 4 profit. Just got to be rostered. So when you come out here and tell me he's a bum, he's trash, he's useless, no, he's fine. He's never going to be a high-level starting center in the NBA. We're all well aware of that. But this is good. Tyrese Maxey struggling, 22-4-9. Maybe try buy low, but 42% is terrible. 50% from the line is not good there either. And then KJ Martin had 10-8 in his 26. That's in place of Toby. I don't think we need to get too excited about that. What I am doing, though, is selling unbelievably high on Buddy Hield and Kelly Oubre. Budrick had 24-4-8. 69% shooting. Now, there's a couple of things here. People love Buddy. Some people don't. Some people actually love him, though. He's perfect. He's exactly what they need. He's going to just dominate. He's going to be this huge option there. Oh, we love it. He doesn't turn it over. He's a top 40 player. Whatever. There is so many players out here. No Toby Harris, no DeAnthony Melton, no Nick Batum, no Robert Covington. Yeah, Hield might start over Oubre, Melton, Batum. 2 of those guys can't start. But I don't think that he's getting 8 assists or shooting 69% or playing 36 minutes or scoring 24 points. You might be able to turn this into something good. Same with Kelly Oubre, although I'm even more adamant on this. There's no way that Kelly Oubre continues to start. He had 24 points with 2 threes and 2 steals in 41 minutes. He, over the last 2 weeks, Oubre is 131st, despite playing 34 minutes a night. He's a bad category league player. He's better at points, but even points, he's 133rd this season. If you can convince anybody, if you can swindle somebody into a top 100 player, do it. Do it. Cameron Payne had 15, 2, and 4 in his 24 minutes, but he'll go away when these other guys return. For the Cavs, the winter soldier, Max Strus.
Get that garbage out of here.
Absolutely. 10, 4, and 4 in 30 minutes. That's okay, but we don't need to hold it. Just do me a favor, guys. Go and check Evan Mobley's 3-point percentage. It's good, yeah? Yeah, it is. 14 and 10, 2 steals, 4 blocks, 28 minutes. He's the 32nd ranked player this season. If the shooting's actually fixed and real, then oh no, we're in for a really big moment coming up for next season, I think. Don Mitchell had 36, 4 and 6 with 3 steals, and Levert had 11, 4 and 6. We don't need to hold that. And Jarrett Allen, 21 and 10 in his 37. As for Darius Garland, there are still people who are complaining and panicking about Garland. 31 minutes, 21, 0 and 9, 56%. There's a thought that he's just been dreadful. He's shooting the same percentage as last season. Yes, his usage is down a little bit. The minutes are down a little bit. I think he's fine. I think it's a huge buy low still here, though, for Garlo. And it's good to see a nice performance with increased minutes come his way here in this one. The next game. It is your Chicago Bulls against my Atlanta Hawks. What happened? Well, we had no Alex Caruso. I guess it was a good run. Don't take that seriously. Someone's already asked me today, hey, should I drop Caruso? No, what are we doing? No, don't stop it. No, we're not dropping Alex Caruso. Bloody hell, one game. No. Anyway, Alex Caruso was out. They didn't start Andre Drummond. So the two big stuff, and we talked about that for this game. We said it's going to be a really interesting... Oh, wrong game. Oh, yeah. No, it's been a great day today. Love today. It's been fantastic. One of the best days ever. Yeah, we wanted to see, would they put Drummond and Vooch out there to chase around Bay and Johnson? And the answer is absolutely not. Not a chance. So the Drummond too big thing is very sporadic. It's very situational, meaning you don't need to do it. You don't need to roster him. They started... This is how you know that it's not going to go well. They started Torrey Craig instead of Andre Drummond. Dosunmu, 29, 2 and 7 with 5 threes. One of his best games. Now, he had struggled a little bit, got benched for that Drummond situation, but this is huge. He has improved a lot this season. He should be on a roster. There's a little bit of iffiness as to what they do with him as every game moving forward, but who cares? He's good. Vooch and DeRozan, really solid. After some really shaky starts to the season, DeRozan and Vooch have been very, very strong basically since Levine's been out. They've just picked it up and they've been really good. 24 and 11 for Vooch, 29, 3 and 5 for DeRozan, while Kobe White, not his best, but still pretty good, 20 and 4 with 7 assists. Craig was all right, 9, 6 and 5 with a steal and a block. That's fine. That's just a deeper league thing. And I don't know that this is a long-term thing for Caruso. I don't think it is. While Drummond had 7 points in 16 minutes with 11 rebounds. They do play the Cavs next, so if you're going to hold Drummond, that's fine because that is a too big lineup. But I don't think it's going to be something that happens every game, and there are only a select few amount of opponents that I think it's going to work for. For the Hawks, Bogdan had 28 with 6 dribbles and 4 assists. Good. DeAndre Hunter was also really good. He had 23 in 28 minutes. He was a perfect 7 of 7 from the line. He added 2 blocks as well. I don't care. I'm not buying into DeAndre Hunter being a 12-team league player, being a guy that's putting up gigantic numbers in limited minutes. That's not who he is, not who he has ever been. And I'm not really ready to accept that he's changing at this point. So he's a streamer or a 14-team league guy. Trae Young, just horrific shooting, 91%, but 11 of 12 from the line is sick. He had 14 assists and 19 points, while Murray had 17, 5 and 9 with 2 steals. Good game from him. Now, if you've had that thought about Paul Reed earlier on, maybe you've had the same idea. Bloody fantasy, you're always talking about Onyeka Okongwu. When will he ever give it up, man? He's trash. He's so bad. Why do the analysts even like him? 11 and 12 in a block for 33 minutes for Okongwu. He is top 40 over the last 2 weeks in 32 minutes a night. Now, I don't know whether he will start rest of season. I think there's a pretty good chance that he will. And this is why. This is why we've always said, hey, if he gets 24 a night, there's enough there. His per minutes have dropped this season. But we said, if there's a Capella injury or a Capella trade or a change in the ideas of the Hawks coaches, this guy is going to put top 50 numbers up. Guess what he's doing? Yeah, I just said it. He's putting up top 50 numbers. It's about what someone's fantasy skill set brings. And understand that it's not just about who's Cam Thomasing their way to 30 points. There's a lot of other things that go into it. Jalen Johnson was a little bit off today, 13 and 8, while the depressed penis Sadiq Bey went back to being not good. 11, 5 and 3. He'd been bad all season. Had a little 2-3 week hot stretch. He's 146 for the season, and he had been really good lately. I'm okay holding him, but don't get your hopes up that it's going to stick because it hasn't all season, and he just had a nice little hot run, and yeah, that's about where we leave it. Let's go on to the next game. Well, actually, no, let's not go to the next game. Let's talk about BetterHelp, because today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes you need the opportunity to get something off your chest. Maybe you are a fantasy analyst in Australia who people think are crazy because they think Paul Reed can be a fantasy option. And you need to just yell and go, why can't they see that he's good? Why can't they do it? And you get that off your chest to someone who might be unbiased in your life, like a therapist or somebody there from BetterHelp. Now, you might be in the opposite situation going, Sally, why does Josh keep saying Paul Reed's good? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. She'll go, bro, no one cares. But also, go and tell it to your therapist. BetterHelp, there's a lot of more serious problems than whether Paul Reed's good or not. That's very obviously true, but getting things off our chest once in a while can be cathartic as well. Most of us have bigger problems than that, but getting that stuff off your chest can help build into a better relationship with your therapist, getting more problems solved and more coping skills and tools accumulated. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. 20 minutes in and my annoyance still hasn't subsided from having to record this show twice. Cool. And now we're going to talk about a team in Canada. So, it's about to fire up. All right. The San Antonio Spurs, they gained superpowers in this game because they were able to fly over the border into Canada with the comforting sensation knowing that they get to leave. So that's why you get the win. 122-99 over the Raptors. Let's talk about Victor Wembanyama. And I'm not going to say what you think I'm going to say. My desk is not rising up without using my hands because I am using my hands to keep it down. This bloke, 29 minutes, 27, 14, and 5, 2 steals, 10 blocks. A triple-double with blocks under 30 minutes. Never been done by a rookie ever. The last rookie to actually do a triple-double with blocks is the Admiral, David Robinson. This guy's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. He is the number 1 player in Dynasty without any hesitation. He will be a top 4 pick next season in Fantasy Redraft, again, without any hesitation. He's already 10th this season. This is a guy who will never, ever, ever leave the top 4 again for the next 10 years. I know that you look at this and you think that's great, and I don't know that everyone fully grasps it. This is going to be insane. This is going to be a situation where we might have to consider something in fantasy drafts. Well, whoever gets that first pick, we got to do something. We got to make them pick last in every round afterwards or something, because it's going to be unfair. Devin Vassell had 25, 3, and 6, and even the horse was good here. Helps when you play against the Raptors, who honestly, I don't know what they're doing. 12, 4, and 6 with 3 steals and a block for Keldon. Now, part of my issue with Keldon is I think he's been overrated in spots, but he usually doesn't bring anything that's not scoring. But he did bring stuff that wasn't scoring here. I don't think that he's a must-roster 12-team league player, but this was a good game. Same with Sohan, who'd been struggling. He had 16 and 6 with a steal and 2 blocks. I think both Keldon and Sohan are on the fringes of 12s. They're fine if you want them. I don't think you have to, though. Trey Jones had 7, 7, and 10, which is okay, but Bubbles only had the 2 points in 10 minutes, Julian Champagny. Not much else to talk about there, but let's talk Raptors. Let's talk good for the Raptors. Kelly Olynyk, 17, 5, and 2, 3 steals, 60% shooting. The man just knows how to play. The man knows how to put up fantasy numbers, and the man needs to be on rosters. He can do more than this, actually. I don't know what to make of the Shark, Bruce Brown. He played 31 minutes. He barely played last game. So what the hell do I do with that? Because 31 minutes of Bruce Brown, sure, that is a 12-team league guy, but I don't trust that. He had 12, 5, and 4. I'd be hesitant to grab him. Because the thing that I think we're going to end up grabbing is Dick. Grady played 22 minutes. He had 18 points with 4 threes. And I just think we're going to see Dick take away minutes from Brown, from Trent, and really start to establish a foothold in this rotation as they start to just pump stuff into him and allow Dick to really explore the space. I don't know that you have to grab Dick right now. I don't even know if you need to add Grady. But the chance of it happening later on, I think, is improving or increasing every day. Let's talk about the bad. Jakob Poeltl played 20 minutes, 12 and 6. Now, before you panic and ask the question, do I drop Jakob Poeltl? The answer is no. And why is that? Well, yes, he played 20 minutes. That's not ideal. But this isn't a situation where Rowan Barrett's out there running 36 a night. Barrett played 24. Quickly played 25. Trent played 22. It was just a blowout. So, while it's not ideal to have Poeltl at 20 minutes, I'm not deciding that 20 minutes a night is his usual shtick from now on. As for Rowan, 13, 5, and 2, that's a pretty Barrett line. The one thing I will give you, all of you RJ Barrett fans, imagine being an RJ Barrett fan. But, happens, is that he has changed his shot profile really positively. He's taking a lot more shots at the rim. He's cut down his three-point shooting volume because A, he can't hit him, and B, if he's getting to the rim at this efficiency, that's great. I still think there's going to be a drop in his shooting because he's hitting his layups at like 12 percentage points higher than he's ever done and like at an absolute elite level, and he's not an elite player. So that is going to come back down, and everything else is just basically in line with what Barrett's done in the past. But for now, he's got that value. I do think that he will fall away, and if I could trade him away, I would. But, speaking of struggling, Emmanuel quickly, what is going on with this bloke? 7-3-3, 17%, 26 minutes. He looks terrible at the moment. I don't really know what's going on. Maybe the entire environment here, and then by environment, I mean just the players around him is not really working particularly well. I don't know what sort of Messiah masterclass this is. Maybe it's actually a typical one, because it's not looking good at all. I am still holding quickly. I am buying low, but it doesn't look good. I'm not holding on to Gary Trent. He had 4 points in 22, and Scott Barnes. 65th over the last 2 weeks. He had 7, 9, and 9 with a 1-1 on 20% shooting, missed his only free throw. One of the things that I was big on with Barnes early in the season was, I screwed up. He took big steps forward, but also like, I don't know if I don't buy him as this shooter. What the hell is this? He's never done this anywhere close to this before. Now, we are seeing it fall away. I think he's going to be better than this, but outside of that incredibly hot run at the beginning of the year, and then a little hot patch in the middle, there's been a lot of weird stuff in the middle for Barnesy. It's not looking good at the moment. Oh yeah, by the way, Ochai Agbaji is still bad. Let's go to the next game. What is the next game? Oh, it is the Denver Nuggets. That's the one. They took on the Milwaukee Bucks, and they didn't really take them on very much at all because it was a very, very easy victory. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope returned from his hamstring cramp that caused him to miss 2 games. It must be the worst recorded cramp in history. He was back starting. Justin Holiday moved to the bench. So I guess that cramp problem is fixed, and we don't have to talk about that anymore. Wait a minute. I'm just being told he re-pinged his hamstring 9 minutes into the game, and nobody could ever have seen it coming. Sorry. Like, that's just an unfortunate thing that's never happened before to anybody in the NBA returning from a hamstring injury. You couldn't have seen it. Just unlucky. Just really unfortunate that happened to KCP. Look, what could you do? As they said at the University of Minnesota Spankological Protocol, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Idiots. This happens not every time, but basically every time. It is so preventable. Why do they do this? I know you don't know, but bloody hell, 1 point in 9 minutes for KCP. I'm jacking him off just for playing.
Get that garbage out of here!
They were terrible, the Nuggets, in this game. Jamal Murray looked like he was stuck in sand. I don't know what was going on with him. He had 3 points in 18 minutes. They didn't play him. They started Reggie Jackson in the second half. They said he had tibial inflammation. I just think that he sucked. Now, whether he sucked because his tibia was inflamed, or they said, yeah, we've had this excuse sort of on the back burner. We've used it a couple of times. Maybe we'll chuck it out there now. We just won't play the second half. That's possible too. Jokic was still pretty good, 29, 12, and 8. Gordon had 12 and 7 with a lot of 2s in there, 2 threes, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. And Michael Ponder had 11, 6, and 4 in 27% shooting. If only he could dunk it on a rim, maybe they should lower it for him. Reggie Jackson had 7 points in his 22 minutes, and just honestly not a lot to talk about there for the Nuggets. For the Bucks, Yanni, 36, 18, 5, 3 steals, 2 blocks, good field goals, bad free throws, just the same stuff. But this game was over so early, so we didn't have to get much Damian Lillard. He had 18, 3, and 5 in just 23 minutes. They play again tomorrow. Leaky Beasley had 9 with 3 triples. They play again tomorrow. Jay Crowder was stunk because, well, he's Jay Crowder. He had 2 points in 23 minutes, but they play again tomorrow. So if you got Beasley, if you got Portis, if you got Crowder, you hold them and you get the value of the Tuesday low volume and you get the Thursday low volume game there. Paddy Connaughton had a lot of 5s, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 points with a 1-1 as well. Don't care that much. While Lopez had 9 points, 3 threes, and 3 blocks. But honestly, there's not a lot to take out of that. Good win for them. Beverly played 20 minutes and I guess. Cool. Not a lot to take out of it, I don't think. Apart from maybe you want to manage a hamstring just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Dr. Josh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not even there. Sorry, I'm so annoyed. I'm still so annoyed that I'm so far behind what I need to do and have to record this twice and say the same things over and over and over again. I hit the button, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I know you can't tell me, but I'm going to tell you about the lineup changes that happened in this one. Pelicans and Grizzlies. Zion returned. Trey Murphy moved to the bench. Scott Pippen was back from G League banishment. Jacob Gilead got banished to the G League in this one instead. So they are going to be just the most frustrating team all season. Let's start with the Pelicans, 96-87 victory. Herbalife Jones, 35 minutes with Dyson Daniels out. Very intriguing. 17-9 with 3 threes and 5 steals. Great. Maybe he's the one that gets a boost because it wasn't Trey Murphy. Murphy had 9 points in 25 minutes with a steal and a block. I don't believe that he's a must-roster player. You can consider that, I guess, with the absence of Dyson, but I'm not there. Najee Marshall had 5 points. Sick. What did happen that was interesting, though, is Larry Nance started the second half, but not only that, he played 30 minutes. 8 and 9 for Nance with 3 assists on 75%. That's at least worthy of a look in 14s. I'm not adding in 12s. And for Valanciunas, 6 and 6 in 18 minutes. He's 121st over the last 2 weeks. I'm not saying that he's a drop, but check back in a couple of weeks. He might be. McCollum was outperforming any of my expectations all season, and now he's 106th over the last 2 weeks. 11, 5, and 2. It is a slump. He's shooting 27%. He will be better than this, but any ideas you might have had of a top 30 player, I don't think are real. And Zion had 14, 5, and 4, and Ingram 16, 2, and 6. For the Grizzlies, what do we do here? I don't think you can really roster any of these guys. Scottie Pippen's on the 1 game in, 1 game out diet. He started and played 25 minutes, and then he got hurt with a back injury. He had 6, 2, 3, and 6. Like, if I knew Pippen was playing 30 minutes, I'd roster him. But they've got to preserve his G League days. Jacob Gilead, he'd be worth streaming as well, but we can't rely on it. Trey Jemison, 6 and 5 with 3 blocks. You go, what about this one, Josh? They'll shut Jaren down. I'll go add Trey. Sure. He's going to be on the two-way dance where they've got to move him back and forward as well because he can't play every night. There was no GG in this one, so we got 26 minutes out of Lamar Stevens and 25 out of Yuta Watanabe, and I honestly just throw my hands up in the air and go, I don't know. Jaren had 22 and 6 in 36 minutes. If you get a top 60 player back, you absolutely trade him away. He will not last the season, almost guaranteed. Bane, I don't think, is coming back. I don't think Smart's coming back. The only guy I feel any level of confidence in is Vince Williams, who had 12, 3, and 9 here. Kennard had 12 points in 29 minutes. Cool. Santi Aldama continues to be bad. Like, at some point, we've just got to go, I don't actually care about that opportunity anymore. 6, 4, and 5 on 22%, 29 minutes. He's not very good. Fine if you want to roster him, the role is there, but man, he's just not very good. I don't know what to do with Watanabe. I don't know what to do with Stevens. They both play the same position as Santi, which is really interesting, but I'm not adding them because I feel like it's going to be just constant nonsense every single game, back and forward, back and forward. You'll have the Pippen, the Gilead, the Jemison. You'll have guys dropped and cut, and they've already had like 29 guys on their roster this season. It's just a wild team that I want nothing to do with any of these guys, honestly. Vince Williams, maybe I want a little bit to do with, but otherwise, not really. All right, let's go on to the next game. It was the New York Knickerbockers and the Houston Rockets. Some lineup changes here in this one. Jericho Sims moved into the starting lineup because Taj Gibson is the most washed man of all time. And Alperen Şengün returned for the Rockets with Jeff Green. Speaking of washed, Jeff Green moves to the bench in that one. Pretty close game in the end. Some refereeing controversy towards the end of the game. Rockets win 105-103, the final score for the Knicks. Well, do you think there's any risk or any possibility that the insane minutes that Tom Thibodeau has pumped into his players has maybe caught up to him? Because there was no Randall, there was no Anunoby, there was no Hartenstein, there's no Mitchell Robinson, and then Dante DiVincenzo pinged a hammy at the end after playing 41 minutes. He played 41 minutes and then sat out the rest of the game. Dante had 23, 5, and 4 with 2 steals and 5 threes. I think Alec Burks will be the guy to step in. Burks had 5 points in 17 minutes, and I wouldn't be considering him at all if Dante had not gotten injured. They could go to McBride, but McBride's more of a point guard than a shooting guard. Josh Hart, 42 minutes, 17, 11, and 5, 2 steals. Get a top 100 player in a trade? Do it. The Big Sneeze, 39 minutes, 8, 17, and 3 blocks. Get a top 100 player in a trade? Do it. These guys will not last all season. It's going to end after the All-Star break at some point when Randall, Hartenstein, Anunoby, Robinson, when they all come back. Bogdanovic played 23 minutes, the biggest red flag I've ever seen. Everyone's out, and the man plays 23. He had 15 points. I think Thibodeau might actually hate him because of the defensive stuff. He was a minus 13. If you can't get minutes when Jericho Sims is playing 29, then God help you. I would hold, but there is no way that Bogdanovic is having value when Anunoby and Randall back. There is no chance. Not happening. Jalen Brunson, 27, 4, and 7 in 39 minutes. Cool. Some really rough percentages for him, though, and that happens. For the Rockets, the big fella, Amen Thompson, 8 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 6 steals. Crazy looking line. I think he's going to be really good. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do this when Fred VanVleet is back. So I'd be more than okay if I needed to drop him for a hot free agent or selling high for any standard league player. Şengün had 18, 3, and 6 with 3 blocks, because I was about to say Dylan Brooks. Because Dylan Brooks had 23 and 6 in 37 minutes. He's actually been pretty good without VanVleet. Probably still more streamer than anything else. Jalen Green, sort of coming back to being Jalen Green. 16 points on 27% with 8 of 9 from the line, 4 assists and 2 steals. Hold him. Might not last all that long. And Jabari Smith had 20 and 7 in his 38 minutes. A lot of minutes from Aaron Holiday as well. 18 in 26 minutes for him. Again, that's because there's no VanVleet, no Eason, no Whitmore. Eason's going to be out until after the break, so is VanVleet. I think Whitmore probably as well. I would not be stashing Eason. I would not be stashing Whitmore. I don't think it's going to be worthwhile for you in 12-team formats. Let us go on to the next game. It is your Washington Wizards traveling to take on the Dallas Mavericks. And we had lineup changes. Old sneaky Jason Kidd told us that he wouldn't be immediately starting Gafford in Washington. And by that, he was right, I guess, because one game in and they're done. Gafford starts, Kleber to the bench. PJ Washington starts, Derek Jones to the bench. Still no Derek Lively, so we still don't fully know everything about how this rotation looks. But that was interesting. Let's talk about the Wizards. They lose 104-112. This is why we, again, against my better judgment of value in players, that's why we want Marvin Bagley. 28 minutes, 12 and 13, steal block, 60%, must roster player. Tyus Jones, 14-3 with 16 assists. He is rolling. Can't believe they didn't trade him, but that's where we're at. Good numbers. Kuzma, 23 and 8. Good numbers. Denny Avdia, pumping a ton into him. 25 and 7 on 65%. This is one of the best streaks of Avdia's career. I'd definitely be looking at a sell high. And then we have to talk about Jordan Poole.
Get that garbage out of here.
What is this bloke doing? Now, if I ignore the fact that he had 3 points on 8% shooting, not a verbal typo, 8%, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block is unbelievably good. But this man is infuriating. I know now that I've said drop him, he's going to have a big game coming up soon, but I don't care. How do you lose this much? How are you this bad? Because don't tell me he was this bad all the time, because he wasn't. He just is terrible. And, yeah, I don't even know. I talk about terrible. Corey Kispert had a nice 3-game streak where he looked good, and now he looks like Corey Kispert. 5 points on 18%. We don't roster him. And Bilal shot 10%. 4 points in 37 minutes. Both Kispert and Coulibaly need multiple players to be out for them to be considered must-roster 12s, I think. For the Mavericks, like I said, Dan Gafford started. 16-17, 2 steals and 5 blocks, revenge game. Richaun Holmes also had a revenge game on the other side. He had 10 points in 12 minutes. So, yes, Gafford had that revenge against a terrible franchise, sending him to a good franchise to hopefully experience some playoff basketball. Those dastardly Wizards. Gafford's been awesome this season. You know that I heavily targeted him in drafts. I got him in a lot of leagues. I don't really know where to go with this. I don't think there's guarantees that he starts over Lively, but you know that I've been on the minority side of things saying that I think he will start. Pretty good example here. Will Jason Kidd has given us many starting lineups and told us they're going to be the starting lineups and then changed them a week later, so who knows? But this is really strong from Gaff. Doncic had 26, 11, and 15. Love it. Irving had 26, 7, and 4 with 2 blocks. Bad from the line, weirdly, but otherwise really good. And Josh Green was solid enough to be a 14-team league player. 13 and 4 with 2 steals. But Tim Hardaway, we just got to get this guy out of here.
Get that garbage out of here.
5 points on 15% in 22 minutes. Just can't bother with him, rostering him when Kyrie and Luka are both there. PJ, I talked about Grant Williams stepping into PJ's body. Well, they've done the full Freaky Friday because 9 points, 36 minutes, no threes, 5 rebounds for PJ. Look, he's totally inconsistent anyway. Move on.
Get that garbage out of here.
And we don't know what's going to happen with Lively. I do think that if Gafford starts and Lively comes off the bench, Lively will be a drop. I think if Lively starts and Gafford comes off the bench, they're probably both going to be holds. Gafford is a way better permanent fantasy producer than Lively at this point. Lively is obviously the better long-term prospect. But that doesn't always mean anything for this season right now. So I'd hold Lively if I can. It's not looking particularly good, though, at the moment, though, is it? It's not looking great. Speaking of not looking great, the Utah Jazz get smacked by the Golden State Warriors, and there's an eerie similarity between what happened to the Jazz last season and what happened to the Jazz this season. They made a change. I talked about it on the last show that Tony Jones says, hey, it would make actually a lot of sense to start Keontae George with this lineup. And then here we are. Keontae George starts, and Chris Dunn goes to the bench. Did it work particularly well? Well, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The Warriors 129, the Jazz 107, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. Steph was great, 25, 6, and 10 with 3 steals and 7 threes. Awesome. Draymond, 12, 9, and 8. Steal block, awesome. Must roster very clearly. Clay had a nice bounce-back game, 30 minutes, 26 and 6 with 3 threes. That brings him to 177th over the last 2 weeks. Whether you roster him or not, I don't think it matters. Like, you can, you don't have to. I don't think he's going to blow us away and become, old school Klay Thompson. This was good. He's fringy to me. And I don't think we need to hold Wiggins. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. Wigo had 17 and 2 in 28 minutes, and what we wanted to see was what would happen to Podziemski. Not ideal. 26 minutes, 10, 4, and 3 with 2 threes. The return of Chris Paul is coming. I don't mind holding pods, but I do think it might be a little bit tough to be a 12-team must. The other thing is, and I talked about this way earlier in the show, probably 10 hours ago since I first recorded it, about John Kuminga and about the value of exciting players putting it together, and then people get convinced, nah, you're just wrong, Josh. He has figured it out. Absolute star, guaranteed stud. All of the big improvements that have happened are real and are going to hold forever. I'm not writing that off, but you've always got to understand that when we throw a sell high out like Kuminga, who was 13th over a 2-week period, and we're like, I don't know about this. Well, there's a reason for it. He's 82nd over the last 2 weeks. He had 14, 2, and 0, no steals, 1 block, 40% shooting. He'd improved so many categories in so short of a time that it felt like, I don't think so. Like, it's not going to hold. Sometimes it does. Rarely. We often get there. That's why we usually have such a pretty good success rate on the buy low, sell highs, because there's just patterns to observe that seem obvious. And there are a lot of people who are heavily invested in Kuminga. Now, admittedly, I wasn't big on him as a prospect. I didn't like him as a rookie. I didn't like him last season. I didn't like what I saw from him early this season. I did like what I saw from him now, but I can't ignore everything that I've seen over that time frame to suggest that, he's figured everything out and now he's awesome. So, hold him, but let's see, yeah? Let's see if that other stuff is able to come back at all. We're still getting useless minutes out of Kevon Looney, so that's great. For the Jazz, as I said, Keontae George started. He had 5 points in 29 minutes on 20%. Absolutely yuck. The minutes are good. It's still a little bit of you need to be able to deal with the field goal percentage to roster him. Is that a must? It's probably someone should be taking a look at having a crack. But as a must, it's going to be a real damaging thing for a lot of people. Dunn had 2 points with 3 steals. The 3 steals is fine, but we're not holding him in 12s. While Sexton had 22, 6, and 5, and Clarkson 22 and 4. I would have Sexton over Clarkson in a 12-teamer, but I think there's going to be some foolishness there. Now, if you want to lose games, Will Hardy's doing the right thing. That's what I say. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So putting Keontae George into the starting lineup and playing 16 minutes of Taylor Horton-Tucker, that might be good. Horton-Tucker went out with a 30% usage. My guy, can you just not do that? He had 13, 3, and 4 with 2 steals. Now, honestly, he wasn't the worst player. He was actually a +6, which is pretty good, but I can't with him. I'm not adding him. I don't care to. Walker Kessler, 26 minutes, 11 and 9, 2 steals, 4 blocks, W. Taylor Hendricks, 19 minutes. The production's not there, but the minutes are there. Let's watch to see what they do anything with Kessler, if they do anything with Collins, if they make any adjustments to the lineups later on. That's just a watch list one for now. Marketing 19 and 5. Someone posted a question on Basketball Monster that said, hey, what do you think the Jazz are going to do? Are they going to shut them down? Do they have a history of that? Like, yes, literally they did this last season. The trade deadline, they traded away players. They forced Will Hardy to be in a situation where he didn't have the right lineups around, and then fake injuries cropped up, and they were dreadful down the stretch. That is possibly what they're doing again. Well, you'd think they're trading away Abaji, trading away Fontecchio, trading away Olynyk, and getting back nothing would indicate that that's what they're doing. Putting Keontae George in the starting lineup would indicate that that's what they're doing. Giving rotation minutes to Taylor Hendricks would indicate that is what they're doing. So just be aware. Now, usually these shutdowns happen with 3 weeks to go in the season. And you should have finished your fantasy season by then. Just be aware. The last game of the night was a blowout. The Timberwolves beat the Clippers in impressive fashion, 121-100. Gobert, 17-10, 4 blocks. Edwards, 23-7 and 8. Towns, 24, 4 and 3. These are all really good numbers. Conley only played 24 minutes, but they've got a back-to-back tomorrow. He had 5, 4 and 7 with 2 steals, and they've got the best schedule across week 17 with 3 more quality games to go, and nobody else does. And that'd be the only reason that I'm holding on to Jaden McDaniels. He had 11 points in this one with a steal and a block in those 25 minutes. Some pretty good numbers overall from him, and not pretty good. It's pretty good that you get the quality games out of Jaden McDaniels and you're able to get some value there through this week, but long-term, no, I don't think so. Naz Reid played 27 minutes. not very good. 11-7. I don't think he's a long-term hold, but again, we hold through this week while Alexander Walker had 15-2-4, and we got the debut of Monte Morris. 18 minutes, 5-2-2. Now, we know Monte Morris is one of the most boring players in the NBA, and we're definitely not rostering him. At least he provides a level of competence in the backup role that they did not have last season, or early this season, sorry. For the Clippers, look, just a bad game. We got 29 Russell Westbrook minutes. Didn't mean it was good. 11 points on 27% with 2 steals. I don't think you need to roster Russell Westbrook. I'm sure you're well aware of that. Norman Powell had 6 points in 17. Don't need to do that either. Well, Zubats played 23 minutes. So he's still on a minutes restriction. He had 6 and 11 in those 23 minutes. That's all right. But if this restriction lasts, we're not rostering him. Like, he's not must roster in those limited minutes. Harden, George, Kawhi, all below their best. Just a bad game with, I don't think, honestly, too many takeaways. They played Daniel Tice as the backup in the second half and Mason Plumlee in the first half. Just a game that was weird, with weird things happening all over the place. Let's go in and do the stream of the day recap. Your 10-team stream of the day was Paul Reed, 13, 8-1, 2 steals, 2 blocks, W. 12-team stream of the day, Amen Thompson, 8, 13, 5 and 6, W. 14-team stream of the day, Chris Dunn, not so much, but he got 3 assists and 3 steals with 2 points and 2 rebounds. His value is dropping pretty obviously. Your 16-teamer is Tre Mann, 11, 9 and 7, steal and a block. He won't qualify for 16-team stream of the day anymore. He should be rostered in 12s. And your points league streams, Yahoo, Amen Thompson, 46.1, and ESPN, Amen Thompson, 50 fantasy points. Some of the biggest W's you will find in terms of streaming guys in for the day. Let's look at your monstrous line of the night. You'll be pretty surprised, I think, to find out who it is. He's also the young gun of the night. A little bit of a one from left field, but I stand by my decision to pick this guy as the monstrous line of the night. Is Victor Wembanyama. Triple-double with blocks in under 30 minutes, almost a 5x5. He had a 4x5, actually, 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 blocks, and the bloke is just ridiculous. What about your waiver wire line of the night? The best performer for a guy available in over. Yes. What am I talking about? Available in over 50% of leagues. Shut up, Josh. Ayo Dosunmu. 29 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. The Drummond thing hovers a little bit over him, but probably want to have him on a roster at this point. And lastly, we look at the dud of the night. I think this man got this the other day. It's Tim Hardaway. 15% shooting, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Don't worry about it. Add him if he gets hot. Add him if someone gets hurt. That's probably where we stand on that. Let's look at the top 6 players of the day. Who are your producers right across the fantasy landscape? Number 1 is Victor Wembanyama for category leagues, followed by Steph Curry at number 2, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Donovan Mitchell, and Budrick Hield. Your top 6 players under 50% rostered. Dosunmu, I just talked about him. DeAndre Hunter, not that interested. Amen Thompson, short-term stream. Kelly Olynyk, yes. Grant Williams, yes. Marvin Bagley, yes. We're rostering those guys in 12-team leagues. And your top 6 in points leagues, Wembanyama comes in at number 1, followed by Giannis, Doncic, Gafford, Steph Curry, and the Donovan Mitchell. So what are some takeaways? Well, my takeaway is to hopefully have a day that's never as bad as this one again. Tre Mann is a nice add. Kelly Olynyk is a guy that we're just adding. Grant Williams is an okay add as well. Marvin Bagley on that list as well to add. And we can drop Jordan Poole and we can drop Benedict Mathurin. And I don't think that we need to feel any level of sadness about either of those things. Jordan Poole, yes. Probably one of my worst ever draft predictions. Just horrendous. And I will forever not forgive that man. Not that it's his fault. Maybe it is his fault. I don't know. Anyway, I'm done. I've spoken for too long. This show has been recorded twice. I'm sorry that it's coming out so late. Give me a sympathy thumb. Give me a sympathy bell. Give me a sympathy share. All that stuff. I'm annoyed. I'm done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, even though it was a little bit late. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.